Uh, Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I won't be long at all. This is pretty brief. Um, One of the things I wanted to talk about, being in Black History Month, usually and rightfully so, I guess, we in Black History Month we talk about the struggles and the sacrifices made by a lot of our modern civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King, Sojourner Truth, Malcolm X, and many more, Thurgood Marshall. And we hear a lot about the things that we went through back in the 50s, 60s, even further back than that. But dealing a lot with the civil rights movement. That's what we mostly deal with a lot, in Black History Month. Um, but even going back before then, going back to the times of slavery and slave trade, even on the plantation itself and all the hardships that we went through. Um, there are things that are true, of course, but there are also things that are permanent parts of our reality of who we are as a people. And also, a lot of the things that we deal with when we're dealing with slavery and talking about the civil rights movement, this is not our complete history. We do have a history that's not just what we call American history. And what you will find in dealing with black people, our culture is mostly world history when you're dealing with black people. And I want to say off the top, when you're talking about black history, I know most of the time, again, we're dealing with the times of slavery, the time that there was a lot of, the country was totally divided. And we're looking at the times right now, like with the new president we have, and a lot of the things that's going on in the media, and a lot of the things that's being said. There's a lot of tension in the air. Um, and even though we have just had what we call our first black president to leave office, and now we have a new president, supported the president, Donald Trump. Um, there are a lot of people who are kind of anxious and curious right now about what the future, what his administration, the future of his office may bring onto this country, and you have a lot of people who are simply, thinking about, well, where do we stand in all of this? Especially being a black people and knowing our history in this country. Where do we stand right now? Where is our, our platform, and what can we look forward to as a people? But one thing we must keep in mind as a people, that many of us, when we're studying, we stop at the plantations, or we stop with slavery, we stop, with the slave trade. But if you go further back, what's most important about us as a people is where we find ourselves in God's divine plan. Where do we find ourselves in the history of the very book that we base our soul on? And where do we find our place? When we see movies and things that come on TV about Moses and, in the Exodus, we hardly ever see our face, unless it's slaves or some, things like that. And it gives a false impression to a lot of our, especially our younger, when you're dealing with, because it's never a question when you see the movies and you see the white characters. We don't question that. All right. No one, there's no uproar. But if there's a movie to come out that is mostly bringing forth the truer, the more realistic history with more darker skin or realistic people of color, there seems to be a little disturbance always in the air about, oh, did you see that? There was a black person. Well, the truth of the matter is, and this is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this tonight. See, our history, again, is more than what we know here in America as black people. Our history goes further than plantations and chains and slave masters. And it's important to know that. Now, I'm not at all diminishing anything that our civil rights leaders have sacrificed and gave lives for us to get where we are in this country. But our history goes much further back than this country. I want to show you something. A lot of people, we're called in this country African American. And then they say that we are called so because we are Africans in America. Well, let's take a closer look, because these are the names that were given to us. Now, every race, even here in America, you go into different neighborhoods and you come across people, and these people have cultures, they have language, they have a land that they can verify themselves on this planet. They can go back to their country and verify themselves on this planet. Now, we say, well, we are black people, but there's no place on this map called black land. Okay, Chinese people, China. Japanese people, Japan. Australians, Australia. Black people, there's no black land. Now, sure enough, yeah, Africa, we say Africa. Well, we're African. Okay, well, this is Africa. I don't know if y'all can, this is going to be quick. This is Africa. Okay, this is the United States. Just the red. Now, the United States is one country. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. And it has nearly 50 countries. So when we say we are African, what part of Africa? It's just like if I say, well, I live in America. If you were overseas and someone asked you where you're from America. Well, where in America? I'm from Louisiana. Well, what part of Louisiana? I'm from Shreveport. What part of Shreveport? I live in Carroll Parish. What part of Carroll Parish? I live. You see, you can go all the way down to where you are. But when you're going back to where you're from, can you do the same? Most people in this country can. We are the ones who can't. Why is that? Many times we don't really ask the question is, why can't we trace ourselves back? Well, you can trace ourselves back to Africa, but where in Africa? And it makes a difference because, again, each of the countries in Africa has a different bloodline, different DNA, different, heritage, different colors of skin. We're not all just black. They are naturally light-skinned African people that are much lighter than me, and they're not mixed. They're just naturally that color. Then there's some that are darker than everybody in here. Okay? And we range all the way in the middle. Now, I wanted to make that point also, just before I go further. This is the Africa that we know today. Right here. But up until 1869 is when they built what's called the Suez Canal. You can look this up. The Suez Canal divides Africa right at this little point from the rest of the land that we call Israel, Syria, Iraq, and Arabia. These were all at one point before 1869, really until the Second World War. This was all Africa. They called it East Africa. There was Africa, then they called this Northeast Africa. All of this. Right underneath Turkey, all the way over to Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all those are Africans. Don't let nobody fool you. They are Africans. If you go into Yemen and Oman and Qatar, all that is Africa. Okay? Babylon, Syria, Assyria. If you look on the fault line of the African continent goes right up along the back of Israel in Judea. It's right here, right up this border. So when the children of Israel left Egypt, they were still in Africa. When they went over into Canaan is on the African continent. They do a lot of digging and things like that right now in Jerusalem and around Israel, and they're finding skulls and bones of African people who were the native people in the land during the time of David and all the way back to Abraham. Now, what does this mean about us? Abraham, I want to start with Abraham because there's a lot that you can say about this, but I want to start at a certain point. We know the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, it gives a very vivid description of the creation, the location of the creation between right here, the east part of Africa, and this part what we call today the Middle East. And right along up here, it was called the Persian Gulf, is where you find the rivers, is where the garden itself was located, because God started the creation over here with Ethiopian Kush, talking about the gold of the land and Havilah and all. That's in Africa. Then he says he planted a garden eastward to the east in Eden, but it's still on the African continent. So the beginning took place in Africa. Right?
Yes,
But we will move a little forward. We're going to talk about Abraham. Now, Abraham, you'll find in the Bible, was born and raised in Ur. Ur means, it's the Hebrew word Ur means light. In the Bible, you sometimes see fire, but it's also the word for light. And that is a city in Chaldea, in Babylon, ancient Babylon. That is in the same area, in Africa, right up in here. In Africa. This is where Abraham was born. He's an African man. He was Syrian, but born on the African continent. And all of these people, and just to make it clear so you understand, that up until the time of the European invasions with Alexandria, who we call Alexander the Greek, you basically had no Caucasian people in this area. It was all people of color. But we'll continue. Now, Abraham has, of course, we know Abraham has a half-sister and wife, Sarah. But his first son is born by his first wife, second wife, Hagar. Hagar is in Egyptian. Now I want y'all to pay attention to these bloodlines, because it took me a while to really look at this, and I'm like, okay, what is God saying here? Abraham, the patriarch, the father of all nations that God made this covenant with, gave him 3 wives at the beginning. You had Sarah, you had Hagar, who was an Egyptian. Now Sarah, mind you, Sarah is his half-sister, so she's the same race as him, so she is black. Hagar is an Egyptian, she is black, she gives birth to Ishmael, his firstborn son. Okay? After Sarah, and he has a son with Sarah, Jacob, Isaac, and after Isaac, of course, Jacob, the Jacob bloodline, where Israel comes from. But after Isaac is born and Sarah dies, Abraham marries again. And a lot of people don't talk about it, you don't hear much about it, but he marries again. Keturah. She's Ethiopian. African. She's Ethiopian. The continent of Africa. This is Ethiopia on the continent of Africa. They're called in the Bible Cushites. Cush. Okay? So anytime you see Cush, that's Ethiopian. And also, Cush is given to the name of Egypt as well, because in the ancient times, before you had these borders, all of this was considered Egypt. By the name Mishraim. In the Bible, you see the sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mishraim, Phut, and Canaan. Ham is Sudan. That's Sudan. Mishraim is Egypt. That's Egypt. Phut is Libya. That's Libya. And Canaan is the land bridge where we today call Jerusalem. All Africa. Okay? Now, let's continue. Abraham and Keturah have 6 sons. 6. Let me name them. Zimbron, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. All of these names are Ethiopian names. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the table of nations and back in Genesis chapter 10, or if you even go back to where Noah talks about his sons, the sons of Cush. Cush has sons by that same name of Dedan, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Midan and Midian. I want to make sure. But those names basically saying from the son of Cush. And all of these are Cushite names. Ethiopian, African people. Okay? Now remember that name Midian, the 4th son, Midian, son of Keturah, and Abraham. Okay? Later on, you have Joseph. When the family goes and moves into Egypt, Joseph is given a wife, an Egyptian wife named Asenath, daughter of the priest of On. Priest. Daughter of a priest. Remember everything I'm saying because it's going to line up in a minute. Daughter of a priest. Okay? They have two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, two of the largest tribes of Israel. And just in case you don't know, 12 out of the 12 tribes of Israel, 8 were black, pure black. 8 of the 12 tribes were black people. Let me keep going. Now, Manasseh and Ephraim, again, they were two of the largest, because they come from Joseph. Joseph is made up one tribe, then you have Manasseh and Ephraim, and of course the tribe of Dan. And you see the list interchanges in different places in the Bible. You see some of the names changed out. That's because of the sons of Joseph and the sons. But they're all still the same people, basically. Now, let's move a little further. Moses gets into some trouble in Egypt and has to flee. Now, when he flees over into Midian. And he meets the daughters of a priest at the well. And these daughters who are pulling water out of this well, they mistake him, or not really mistake him, they call him an Egyptian. They say, because when they get back to the house and their father, he's like, why y'all back so soon? He said, there's this Egyptian man that came in and helped us at the well. They call him an Egyptian. Why? Because he was black. He looked like every other African Egyptian at that time. And at that time, he lived in Egypt, so he was dressed as an Egyptian. Okay? So now when they meet him, they take him to the father, who is Jethro. Now we know him as Jethro. Jethro, you have to really research about Jethro. Can't do it all right now, but just to let you know, he's a very, very important man when it comes to Moses. And you got to understand, this is all in God's will and plan. Every step that is taken for a purpose and reason to get to the next step, to get to the next step, to get to the end, to get to the Messiah, to Jesus. Watch how this goes. So now, Jethro, whose also name is Reuel, one of his names, he has 6 names. He is a priest. And not only is he a priest, now this is before the Torah. This is before Moses going up in the mountains and got the commandments from God. He's a priest. And he's also one of the 3 judges in the court of Pharaoh. So he's royalty. And once he meets Jethro, Jethro takes him in and basically mentors him. If you read several verses you go to in the Bible where he's talking to Moses about the mission that God has set for him, and he's telling him, you're going to be prepared. This is not an easy task. Make ready. And the reason why he can do this is because he has knowledge already. Now, of course, he's a Midianite, descendant of Keturah and Abraham. So he's still in the family. Okay? God knows what he's doing. He gives Moses his daughter Zipporah to marry. But now this is not just any daughter. If you go into Exodus, you will find that she actually ends up saving his life, Moses' life, because of the son that they had was uncircumcised at the time. And God was about to deal with Moses because he wanted, of course, to keep everything pure and clean. So she came in front and pretty much intervened and performed circumcision right there on the spot and threw the foreskin down so that, that to appease God. Now, where did she get that knowledge from? Where did she get the knowledge of circumcision from? She's being taught by her father, who is a priest. So she's a daughter of a priest, prepared already for her husband, Moses. Just as Joseph and his wife, daughter of a priest. Okay? Now, it is believed that this wife, Zipporah, is the same Cushite woman, Cushite, Midianite, Ethiopian, that when they get back, Miriam and Aaron have a problem with. Now, it doesn't name her in that instance, like it does in the first part. So it's believed that it's the same woman, and in some places you'll hear people say, well, he married again, and married a Cushite woman. But they were both Cushites. They were both Midianites, Cushite, Ethiopian. So it could be the same. It could be Zipporah. But they got mad and upset with Moses because he married a Cushite woman. Now people will say, well, why did they get mad if she's black and they're black? Why? Because it's not about the color of skin. Let me let you know this. God does not, I want to say this clearly too. God is not concerned with the color of your skin. God is about nation, bloodline. And there will be, people can say what they want, they can teach what they want, there will be every race, white, black, Japanese, or it doesn't matter, in the kingdom. Okay, so let's make that clear. We talk about our people because we want to uplift ourselves like others do, but don't mistake and think that we got some special red carpet going to be rolled out for us. No, that's not, that God don't play those racism. Racism is a man's thing. That's a human thing. God is not a racist. He deals with judgment and righteousness. So that's according to nations. Now, getting back. But Miriam and Aaron had a problem with this Cushite woman. But let me look at, this is why we have to be careful when we judge people too. For speaking up against Moses for marrying this woman, God judged Miriam and Aaron, but Miriam received the curse of leprosy. And 30 days later, she was dead. For speaking up against Moses marrying a Cushite woman, black woman. So in other words, God stood up for this black woman and saying, what do you see Moses? I speak to Moses face to face. Moses sees me in my phone. How do you think you have the nerve to stand up and speak against my prophet and the woman that I have chosen for him, a black woman? God stood up. You have to be careful and mindful who you talk about and against. You never know what God has planned for that purpose, for that person. Okay? They end up, Moses and Zipporah, they had 2 sons. But we're going to go a little further, and I'm almost done. I want to go to someone that is very kind of rarely known. His name is Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the high priest. It was during the time they were in Midian, and some of the Israelites started going after some of the Midianite gods in that area, foreign gods in that area. And Pinchas, instead of, everyone's looking around, everyone's seeing this abomination, everyone's seeing what's going on. But Pinchas stands up and embowels himself and sees this, and he grabs a spear. He sees there's some of the people that's coming that are engaged in this, this act, all the stuff that they're doing, and he slays 3 of the people. I think it's 3 people right there at the door of the tent. Because they tried to come in unto Moses, and before Moses disrespecting this holy area, and he slays them. And God is pleased and sees that in him, he was not tolerating this unrighteousness and this unrighteous act in front of this holy place. And God blesses him and blesses his family and makes Pinchas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, a black man, priest. The first priest. You have high priest. Then you have underneath the high priest a line of priests. And the promise of priesthood was given to this one man and his family and descendants forever by God. Forever by God. Priesthood, black people. And we wonder, black church has always been different. It is not when you go into a white church, a lot of times, and I'm not talking about anybody, but we know. We've all experienced. You go into a white church and it seems like it's just like this, quiet. Yeah. And that's because, but let just a few of us who are Holy Spirit filled Spirit people walk in the church with we feel the whole. Matter of fact, and I have nothing against Dr. Chitwood, and I think Dr. Chitwood knows this himself. Most of his when you go up to these events, there's a nice crowd of white people, but there's a lot of black people. And that spirit that is in there is because we bring it there. And I think he knows that, but it's a thing about black people that the Spirit of God is saturated among us. And it's just always been that way. We are what's called a peculiar people. It's because of the way the Spirit deals with us. Okay? And again, it's nothing against them, but it's a reality because we've all experienced it. We've all seen it. Last point. I'm gonna sit down. And this is again showing you this is black history. Okay, we all appreciate everything that the civil rights leaders have done and still doing today, because we got some more work to do now. We got Donald Trump in office, so we're about to get to do it. Yeah, we're about to roll up some more sleeves. But this is also real black history from the Bible of who we are. I want to talk about David and Solomon. David and Solomon also married. Now, of course, David had a lot of wives and concubines, Solomon too. But in particular, we know that David married a woman named Bathsheba. The name Bathsheba means daughter in Hebrew. Sheba. That is an Ethiopian word. Look all of this up, y'all. So I want y'all to just take what I'm saying and, oh, that sounds good. No, look it up.
You're telling the truth.
And he married her and had children with her. One of who we know the most, Solomon himself.
Right.
The black man. And then Solomon also married the queen of Sheba. Another black woman. And not only that, now they had a son named Menelik, who ends up being the first ruler of Ethiopia in Africa. Tie it all together, y'all. Now, there was a treaty made between, oh my goodness, there was a treaty made between Solomon and the Pharaoh at that time. And the Pharaoh gave Solomon his daughter. And he took her into the city of David and kept her there until his house was built and the complete city of David and the walls around what we call the city of Jerusalem. Meaning that before the foundation of the city, we as black people were already in the city of David. We are the founders of the city of David. We populated the city of David. Okay? And if you keep going further, you find Zephaniah, son of Akushi. Chapter 1, verse 1. Son of Cushi, Cushite, Ethiopian. And you keep going, and now what's going to end up happening, and this is why you've been hearing probably in the last 20 years or so, 15, 20 years, you hear a lot of people start talking about Jesus being black. And at first it was just a little rumor type thing in the air, but now you're starting to see how realistic that is, because all the way back from Abraham, really back to Adam, all the way up, you see the important people, the main people. And I know there's plenty of black people in the Bible, but we're talking about the people that God used in his divine plan, going all the way up to Christ. Remember, Christ's daughter of Mary. Mary is from the house of David. Black people. It's descriptions of Jesus, Yeshua, in the book of Revelation, where he talks about the hair being white, like they said white, and then it says like wool. And a lot of people say, well, it said no, white like wool. Well, if you ever see a sheep, their hair is not like white like this. It's an off white, so almost a brownish looking white. But they weren't describing the color to the type of hair. They were saying his hair was white and it was like wool, thick. His skin was the color of burnt brass. Burnt brass. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be funny, but right here, this is the color of burnt brass. Okay? You're looking at the color and skin texture of our Messiah. Okay? That's in Revelation. So, when we talk about black history, this is what I think about. I think about our modern black history, but I also think about the history of us in the Bible. And who we are to God. Not who we are to these people or to the government. I know these things, have affected us since we've been in this land. But we're not forgotten. There's a lot more always that can be added to these teachings, and some things that maybe one day the bishop allows I get to talk about. But understand that much. And I want to say the last thing, why is this so important? Why did God connect Abraham and Moses and Joseph and all these people with not just any woman, but a black woman? And not just any black woman, but most of the time black women, daughters of priests. What is important? What is it about a priest? What is it about being a high priest? Now, the high priest was the only person allowed to go into the most holy of holies and deal and speak directly to God. The only person. That's a very special person. Okay? And that is the same position today in the church that the bishop holds. The only one in this temple who deals directly with God on behalf of the people. That's why we call him the Hamelech, the angel, Hamelech, Shilbait, the angel of this house. He's the messenger of this house. Same thing with the high priest. They were the messengers for their tribe. Okay? So what is important? If you, as a high priest, what is important about that? Where did it come from? If you look on, I'll tell you this. Lucifer. One thing that people don't understand about Lucifer before he fell. You go back and look in Ezekiel. It talks about God's calling him. He said, "You were beautiful and wise in your way, and he gives a complete description of his wisdom and knowledge and all this, and then he goes into describing his covering. And he starts with the covering. He says, he names the stones: sardis, carbuncle, jasper, and all of the. But what is he naming? Those same stones that are covering, that were covering Lucifer before he fell, are the same stones on the breastplate of the high priest, in the same exact order. There are 9 stones covering Lucifer. Were 9 stones. There are 12 covering on the breastplate of the high priest in Israel. Each of the 12 stones represented one of the 12 tribes. Okay? With Lucifer, he had 9 stones. This was his covering. And the same word, covering, is used when it talks about the high priest. It says your covering, your glory, and with the ephod and the stones on the breastplate. Lucifer, if you notice when he lost this, Lucifer was the high priest on this planet. Lucifer was the Lord of this planet before he fell. This is why God deems him so important. You see, he was over an order of 9 angelic orders. That's what the 9 stones on his covering stood for. And I do have those 9 names. We'll go through that right now. But they start with, we're talking about the cherubim, the seraphim, the Raphaim, the principalities, the thrones, and there are others, the Raphaim. So these are 9 orders of beings, angelic beings that reside in the heavens that Lucifer was over. And he was receiving all of this glory because he was the high priest. He was the only one that will go to the Father. God says, I established you, placed you here, put you where you are, and you got all this glory. And now he got big-headed, pride. Okay? Oh, I'm the man. I got all the orders of angels praising me, singing praises to me, because I'm the angel of light. So let me place my throne above God. Let me exalt myself. You know, if everybody's praising me, God, let me share some of your glory. Let me get some of that. That's his attitude. He wanted to place his throne above the stars, he wanted to be God.
Don't you see?
And this is what God said. Until iniquity was found in him. He was the wisest, the most powerful, until iniquity was found in his sanctuaries. What sanctuaries? He was a high priest. This is what was going on the earth before. See, when you hear Bishop talking about the redemption of the earth and what took place, this is how the earth ended up getting judged. The heavens got judged because God threw everything into darkness. That's why it says in Genesis, there was darkness on the face of the deep. That's not talking about the deep waters like we think. The Spirit of God was moving across the waters, but he said there was darkness on the face of the deep. Space. God shut everything down. He removed the light. He told Lucifer, I will remove the fire from the midst of thee. What is fire? The word ur means light. He removed the light because there was no nighttime. Nighttime started in Genesis when God called the darkness night. Before then, there was no darkness. It was all what's going to take place in Revelation when the kingdom descends and God is here with us again, and it says there will be no more need for the sun. Why? Because there will be no more dark. There will be no more nighttime. We are going to go back to where we were before Lucifer fell. It was all light. But when Lucifer rebelled, God removed his light, his presence from the deep. And this is what threw the entire universe into chaos.
Yes, sir.
Threw the earth into judgment. Okay, what do you call it? Catastrophe, catastrophic event. Okay? And at the recreation, the redeeming of the earth, instead of replacing another angel on the throne, God created us. and said, I'm going to let another being rule this planet. See, this is why Lucifer is so mad.
That's why he's angry today.
He's angry because he's looking around at everything that he lost and saying, how can God give these? I'm better than them. And let me prove. This is why he's called Satan. He's the adversary. He's always going around trying to prove that we are not worthy. This is why he stepped to God about Job, to try to prove, God, look, this man ain't worthy. Let me get my throne back. No. And see, now Adam, this is why it says Adam was naked. He had no covering yet. Adam was being groomed and raised because he was going to replace Lucifer. And this was going to be he was going to be the first Lord. But he failed. So God's divine plan was to raise priests that would disseminate the knowledge and rebuilding the body of Christ all the way back up to the one who's going to take over this planet. When he comes again, he will return as Lord of Lords, King of Kings. And the same position that Lucifer had and lost, this is where our Lord will reign forever. And we will reign with him. Thank y'all for listening.
Y'all give it